You can give me any type of etiquette pointers that you would like to
Be
give.
funny.
That's probably necessary.
Always be funny.
No, that's his job.
Hey there. All right, guys, I'm heading out to the barn. We have with us today 2 reps from ADM. We have Tony and Steely, and they are going to talk to us a little bit about, we've had lots of questions about the ADM Beef-trate that we use in our feed ration for our commercial steers, and we've had a lot of questions about that on our TikToks. So they're coming out today to kind of talk to us about it and answer some questions that some of our viewers have had. So you're fixing to see footage of that conversation, and we'll see how it goes. And we'll probably do some more videos kind of telling you about our feed ration, things like that. I don't know if we've posted all that on here, so we'll get that in this video too as well, just talking to you about what our feed regimen is for the commercial steers and what commercial steers are and all that good stuff. So y'all stay tuned.
All right. You want us to hug?
Probably,
Hold hands? Sing kumbaya?
Yeah.
All right, you ready?
I'm all good.
All right, guys. I always say guys, but it's probably supposed to say folks so we don't leave anybody out. But y'all have asked lots of questions about our Beef-trate, about our feed program on Clancy's commercial steers. So I went directly to the source here. So I've got with us today Tony Ballinger from ADM. He's the area manager.
Yes, sir.
For Texas and Louisiana. So we're going to ask him a few of the questions that y'all have asked us, so that you don't have to believe me. You can believe the man that makes the feed for us. So, Tony, one of the big questions we get asked a lot about this Beef-trate is there's absolutely no way feeding Beef-trate with whole corn could actually make these cattle process their corn. So what's the answer to that?
Well, it's been being used for probably 40, 50 years, and there would be a lot of people that would argue that it works incredibly well, especially on smaller size operations when you're only feeding 5 to 10 to 15. We've got people that feed as many as 50 at a time on the same program, and it works very well, and it's very cost effective for each of those operations.
So what the Beef-trate really does is it doesn't help the cattle process the corn any better. It actually helps the microbes that are inside the cattle's rumen to break down the corn and process it efficiently.
That is correct. It's the rumen microorganism population is what does all of the work. We're not feeding this corn to this cow. We're feeding it to that rumen microbes. They're breaking it down, and that's the reason the product works.
Perfect.
And it's minerals, it's vitamins, it's multiple protein sources, as well as utilizing rumensin as a coccidiostat, added gain, and decreases the chances of digestive upset, which bloat happens to be one of those digestive upsets.
Awesome. All right, so another common question we get asked a lot about Beef-trate is, or about our feed program is, why don't you crack that corn, or why don't you feed a steam flake corn? From my perspective, the reason that we don't do it is because the increased cost to our feed ration is not worth the extra efficiency. But after talking to Tony here from ADM, there's really absolutely no need for us, and it also might accidentally increase the possibility of acidosis in our cattle. Can you tell them why that is?
Well, and it certainly could. So the more surface area that you have, so if you finely ground corn, for an example, and tried to feed this many pounds of corn to these steers, you're going to probably increase your chance of having acidosis and digestive upset.
So inside the stomach of the cow has 4 stomachs. Inside the rumen is where most of the digestion takes place. There's villi, so little fingers all around the inside of their stomach. And if you ground that corn, or if you even just cracking it, increasing the surface area, there's more surface area to attach to those villi, which in turn could increases your chances of getting acidosis. So feeding the whole corn with the Beef-trate, which causes the cattle to eat at a constant, even pace across the day, instead of eating a bunch in the morning, come back in the afternoon, when it drops off, come back at night and eat a bunch more. It causes a steady increase throughout the day, which allows them to process that feed a lot more efficiently without the trouble of acidosis and bloat in there, by keeping that that regular consumption pattern. All right, on installment number 68 of Beef-trate here. So one of the questions we've been asked a lot is can I feed that with this, or can I feed Beef-trate with this ration? You know, can I substitute the hay for cottonseed hulls or cottonseed burrs? Can I feed it to my halter cattle on top of their ration on a mixed feed or something? So, Tony, what are the feeding? I mean, where can you feed Beef-trate?
So Beef-trate is nothing more than a feedlot supplement that's going to have the complete mineral, complete vitamin package. It's going to have multiple protein sources along with Bovatec or Rumensin, either one actually. And you can feed it along with any feed that you're feeding the beef cattle, period. The only thing I would say, Rumensin is detrimental to horses and equine. So we probably want to make sure that we don't obviously let the horses get in, because that may not end well.
Okay.
But in general, Beef-trate can be top dressed to any feed that are fed to any type of cattle.
Perfect. Hey guys, so we see a question here that pops up a lot, is like, I don't have an ADM dealer. I can't find Beef-trate in my area. What am I supposed to do? So I have the Central Texas and East Texas rep for ADM here with me today, Steely Barham. She's my rep for my area here in Central Texas. So Steely, what does somebody need to do if they want to find this Beef-trate product or any other ADM product? How do they need to go about finding that if their local feed store doesn't have it?
Go to admani.com, and there's a dealer locator on there where they can just type in their zip code, and it'll populate the nearest ADM dealer to them.
Okay, and then that dealer can get you in touch with a rep if you want somebody to speak with you about specific products or something like that, because if you don't have it around your area, a lot of times the folks at the feed store won't know a lot about it. They can get you in touch with a rep like Steely that can go over everything with you. Thanks for the questions, guys. We appreciate it, and y'all keep ranching.
So that was a super interesting conversation with Tony and Steely. Cody took them now to the feed store. I wasn't able to go because I got to get back to work. But they had a great conversation. They're going to go to the feed store now and talk a little bit there. Cody's been doing feed store Fridays on TikTok, so he's going to include them in that this Friday. So if you're not following us on TikTok, head over there too, and Instagram and Facebook. Just follow us everywhere. Why not? Sometimes we have lots of different stuff on each one, so y'all give us a follow over there.
All right, so we've been going through on this video with you guys about our commercial steers, or Clancy's commercial steer project. So what the commercial steer project is, this simulates real world cattle feeding. So what I mean by that is these cattle aren't halter broke, they don't get clipped, they don't get fitted for the show on show day. All they do is we weigh them in August. We put them on full feed from that day on. We'll get them in the lots twice. We'll implant them and vaccinate them when we first weigh them in, and then we'll go ahead and re-implant them at 75 days. The reason we use implants, I'm not scared of them. I mean, it helps the cattle convert their feed into gain better. It helps them their average daily gain increase. It also helps their it just keeps them going better, guys. It gets them where we want them quicker. So our feeding routine that we go through every day, we keep our corn in this trailer. So we feed whole corn. We don't crack it, and the reasons for that we'll follow up with the ADM guys. But we feed whole corn, and the way we feed these cattle is we feed them all the corn they'll eat every single day. So in the mornings when we get out here, we feed twice a day. I want to see about 3 or 4 gallons of corn in the bottom of this feeder, and the same thing at night when we get in here to feed at night. So we just judge that. If it looks like they're cleaning up a little more than they did the day before, the morning before, then we'll bump them up a half of a 5-gallon bucket. So we feed them all the whole corn they'll eat, and then we feed them this Mormon's Beef-trate. It's an additive that we use. I call it Mormon's. It used to be Mormon's, now it's ADM Beef-trate. And what that does is that feeds the microbes inside the steer's guts and keeps them processing that corn. So we feed that at a rate of 3/4 of a pound per head per day. So we'll put half of that out in the morning and half of it out at night when we feed them. And then we feed about 1 to 2 pounds of coastal hay per head per day. So we split that up in the mornings and the evenings also. The cattle come up, they eat good, they gain weight good, they do great on it. We've been doing this for about 8 years now. This is Clancy's 5th year to do it. Kylie did it before him. And we're gonna eat one of these steers. All these steers are sold. They're gonna go to different families in our community to eat them once they're harvested, and then they'll fill up a freezer for those families. So we're gonna take you in here into the feed room and show you what the beef trait looks like. This is where we store our hay. Like I said, we just feed a coastal hay. It's nothing special. It doesn't have to be a...
This is also the cat house.
So here in the feed room, this is where we keep our beef trait. You can see it's just a pelleted feed. We use one of these clear feed scoops that's got the different weights on the side of it. So on pellet here, we go up to between the 2 and the 2.5 every morning and every evening. So for those 6 steers, I think we're feeding 2 1/4, so right at 5.5 pounds of beef trait a day to keep everything in them like they need to have. So
Why do you keep that separate?
so we keep that separate. It's not labeled for sheep and goats or for horses. It has killed a few horses, so they label, you know, to strictly to keep it away from horses. And so we just keep it separate. That way there's no, it looks a lot like Clancy's goat feed when you look at it. So we don't ever want anybody, if somebody has to feed for us if we're gone or just coming out here late at night, we don't want to get that mixed up. So we always keep the beef trait. We've kept it in this metal trash can for 6 or 7 years now. So everybody just knows that's beef trait and that's all that goes in there. That way it keeps us from mixing anything up and getting anything out of whack that doesn't need to be fed beef trait. So guys, that's the way we do it. It's not the only way to feed cattle. It's not the may not even be the best, but it works really well for us. It keeps your cost of gain down. It keeps your feed costs down. It's a very efficient feed and we really like it. So if you got any questions about it, drop them in the comments. Be sure to like us and subscribe too. We'd appreciate that. And most of all, y'all keep ranching.
What are you doing, kitty?